They actually don't. It could have been a video of outtakes, but I decided that we'd have their smiling faces flash before your eyes this evening. So thank you for coming tonight. I am Allison Dahlman, the principal here at St. Peter Catholic School, and it's my honor to serve as principal here, and it's my honor to stand before you tonight. You noticed that, perhaps you noticed, we have a light theme going in our decorations and in the video. This year, our school theme, our scripture theme, is from the Gospel of Matthew. You are the light of the world. And all year we've been thinking about that, trying to be that, talking about that. And so when all the kids came to me, I asked them before I videoed them, so what does it mean to be the light of the world? And you heard one of our second graders that I thought summed it up really well. To be the light of the world means to be a saint. And so I'd like to share with you just a little bit of the environment that happens here at St. Peter, imperfectly, but with great diligence every day, to create a space where students desire to be saints. We are in Lent. It may not feel like it tonight, but we are. And a few weeks ago, we started the Stations of the Cross, and I had the privilege to sit with the kindergarten at Stations of the Cross. And if you haven't sat with 25 5-year-olds during Stations of the Cross, you have not lived. So I sat with these kindergartners, and at about station 4 or 5, when Jesus meets his mother, one of our kindergartners started to weep. And I looked up at this kindergartner, and I wasn't really sure if he had to go to the bathroom or if he was being moved. And so first we had to assess that, and no, he was being moved. And I said to him, honey, what's the matter? And he said, this is so sad. And I said, well, what is? And he said, what Jesus is doing for us. And it was this moment of great revelation to me. Here we have a little 5-year-old, just came from dropping off his lunchbox, headed over to Stations of the Cross, and in a few moments is going to head back and do some reading or math. And at that moment was encountering the reality of Jesus Christ in a way that moved him to tears. So I'm crying. The kindergartner next to me is like, stop crying! Turn the page! Right? An environment where it's normal for our kids to encounter the sacred right after dropping off their lunchbox and right before going to do math. A few weeks earlier, I had a few 8th grade girls come up to me in the lunchroom, running up, Mrs. Dahlman, Mrs. Dahlman, Mrs. Dahlman. I was a little nervous. I said, okay, what's going on? And they said, we really need to have a retreat. And I said, what do you mean you really need to have a retreat? Well, we need to have a retreat. And it should be all girls. Andy can come to play the guitar. But we need to do adoration, and we need to do it soon. And you can take the boys when the girls are on retreat, and you can teach the boys how to treat girls. And I said, okay, well, we can figure that out. So this Friday, we're going to have a retreat, and we're going to, God help us, try to teach the boys how to treat girls and have the girls go to adoration. The boys are going to adoration too. But this is not unusual, right? An environment where kids think it's normal to ask to encounter the sacred. To go from math class to the retreat, back to lunch, and finish the day. That's a normal day for our kids. Along with Lent, you may know, we're raising money to try to help provide clean water for a school in Uganda. We're bringing in coins and pennies and dollars, and right before spring break, I had a few 6th grade girls come up to me and say, Mrs. Dahlman, we have the best idea. And I said, well, what's that? We want to sell slime. And I said, what do you mean you want to sell slime? Well, you know, like you make slime with glue and borax and food coloring, and then you put it in a little bag and we sell it. And I said, well, what are you going to sell it for? Oh, we're going to sell it to raise money for the H2O for Life, and all the proceeds can go to that to raise money for that well that we're trying to build. And I said, okay, well, we can try to figure this out. And we did. And what did they name their endeavor, these little entrepreneurial students? Slime for Life. It is a normal environment to have kids not only have compassion for another, but to then take action. I was just in last Monday, the 5th grade and 6th grade religion class. Mr. Heinz took a group of students to the courthouse to debate in front of one of the federal judges there, and I had the privilege of subbing for him in religion. So I said, okay, we can do that. And we were reading chapter 9 of The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. If you haven't read it, you should. But it's an allegory about people in hell that get on a bus and go to heaven. And if they want to stay, they may. So we're reading chapter 9. It's kind of dense stuff. And it gets to one point in the chapter where this person in heaven is trying to explain what it's like to be in heaven. And they say to this visitor from hell, heaven is as real can be. And we stopped reading, and the kids were all looking at me like, what does that mean? And so I said, well, what do you think that means? And we're throwing out our ideas, right? This idea and that idea. And finally, this lovely little 5th grade student, a young man, said, well, okay, Mrs. Nauman, work with me. I said, okay, I'm working with you. And he said, humans are made in the image and likeness of God, right? And I said, yep, right. He said, so if we are who we're supposed to be, then we are good, right? And I said, yep, that's right. We're going in the right direction here. And he said, well, heaven's really real because ultimately, if when we're really human, we're really like God, we should be good, and heaven there is goodness itself. And I said, give this man a standing ovation. He just figured something out that it takes many years and years to do. An environment where it's normal to pursue knowledge that leads you to truth. An environment where you encounter the sacred, where you have compassion and act, and where you desire knowledge, not just so you can be smart, but so you can understand a little bit of who God is. And we do this imperfectly. My faculty will attest to that. But this is the kind of an environment that we desire to create here at St. Peter Catholic School for all of those beautiful children who we want to be saints. Because nothing that we do here on earth, when done well, when done truthfully, nothing is separate from God. And when we become fully ourselves, our best version of ourselves, we glorify God. St. Irenaeus said that man fully alive glorifies God. When we do things that humanize us, make us better, make us more compassionate, make us understand the sacred, we become more like the divine who created us. And I promise you that every day when I wake up, this is not far from my mind, and I can promise you that it's not far from the mind from my faculty who come every day desiring to take kids to this place. And I thank you tonight for being a part of that, because the money that we raise, yes, it will help us to give our faculty just pay. Yes, it will help us to give tuition assistance to the people who most need it so they can be here. And yes, it will help us do capital improvements, boring windows, or new toilets. But really, the money that you help us raise tonight helps us to keep this environment, an environment that is vibrant and can help kids encounter the sacred, can help kids be compassionate and act on it, and can help kids pursue knowledge, not for themselves, but for the greater glory of God. And I just thank you, and it is my most honor to be the principal here at St. Peter Catholic School. Thank you very much.